Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ready Steady Charge. Right now, it is about 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and we are in Calgary. We are going on a trip from Calgary to Winnipeg, which is over 1,300 kilometers. Now, we're gonna try to do it in one day. We are starting with 99% battery in the Hyundai Kona Electric, and our first stop is Medicine Hat, which is 295 kilometers away. Now, our battery temperature right now, the battery minimum temperature is 19 degrees and battery max is about 23. The ambient temperature is around 15 degrees. Why is the battery a little bit hotter than the ambient temperature? Well, that's because last night we had a DC fast charging session. So when we drive on this almost 300 kilometer segment of the trip, the battery hopefully will heat up to around 25 degrees. As long as battery minimum is at 25 degrees, we can get a really good charging speed. So let's go to Medicine Hat and we will see you there. Welcome to Medicine Hat. This is the Petro Canada in Medicine Hat. So we took about 3 hours to get here. It was around 300 kilometers and we came with 17% battery. So the consumption was 5.7 kilometers per kilowatt hour. That's pretty good. So for this entire trip, as long as our consumption is better than 5.5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, then we should be good to go and go according to our plan. So when we arrived, the battery temperature, the minimum temperature is at 17 degrees. So it actually dropped a little bit, and that's because over here it's a bit colder. The ambient temperature is around 2 degrees, 1 degrees, at some point even drop below zero. So the battery is a little bit cooler. We are charging at 51 kilowatts right now. And when the battery warms up to 25 degrees of battery minimum, we can get over 75 kilowatts. So I think during this charging session, that's gonna happen. We plan to stay here for around 40 minutes, and our next stop will be Swift Current. So we will see you when we get there. Well, we are only about 24 kilometers away from Swift Current, and just want to update you on something. So on this trip from Calgary to Winnipeg, we're planning on using as many Petro Canada charging stations as possible. But a lot of experienced drivers of EVs would know that Petro Canada charging stations may not necessarily be the most reliable ones. So the Swift Current Petro Canada station, both charging stations are actually offline and under repair. But good news is there are co-op DC fast chargers in Swift Current as well, and they go up to 70 kilowatts. So that should be good for the Kona, which has a maximum charging speed of 75 kilowatts. Hello and welcome to Swift Current. So we are currently at the co-op charging station in Swift Current. Like I said previously, the Petro Canada is under repair and we're not going to go there. We have arrived in Swift Current with 10% state of charge, which is actually exactly as planned. Our consumption is still a little bit higher than before, 5.5 to 5.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour, but that's all right. Now the good thing is ambient temperature is a bit warmer now, it's 18 degrees. So sun is shining, we're quite comfortable. Something that's interesting is these co-op chargers are supposed to be 100 kilowatt chargers, but we're only charging at 40 kilowatts. The Kona's battery minimum is at 27 degrees, which means it can receive 75 kilowatts at least. So we're not too sure what's going on with the chargers. We're gonna wait for a little bit and see if these chargers will ramp up to a higher speed. Welcome back. So we are done charging now. We're at 80% and we're gonna move on to Regina. So what happened was while we're charging, at 46% state of charge, the charging session was interrupted. We don't know what happened, but it was charging at around 41 kilowatts, and then when it charged at 46%, the charging session ended. So we came back, plugged in the car again, and then we realized, oh, now it's actually going full speed. It went up to 71 kilowatts. So yeah, we don't really know what happened. But the good news is we were a little faster than before, where we were only charging at 40 kilowatts. All right, so let's go to Regina next, and we will see you there. Welcome everybody to Regina. So we are here and we actually had been charging for a while. We just didn't film when we first plugged in. We had some Jollibees, believe it or not. And Jollibees is right next to Petro Canada. And you may be wondering, hey, why aren't you plugged in at Petro Canada? Is this simply because this 50 kilowatt charge point is free at the Taylor Volkswagen? Well, not quite. So remember how in the previous charging session at the co-op BTC charger, we had the issue of the charging speed being limited to 40 kilowatts. That problem happened again with the Petro Canada charging station, which is also a BTC charger. And when it's limited to 40 kilowatts, we know the vehicle is capable of more. So what we decided to do is get our chicken from Jollibee, and then come here to this charger, a 50 kilowatt charger of a different design, and try it out and see if it's a problem with our vehicle or a problem with the charger. Now, when we plugged in, we immediately got around 44 kilowatts, and the charging speed had increased along with the voltage of the battery, which is the normal behavior. So we think the car is doing okay. It's something to do with the interaction of maybe the car with the BTC chargers, or it could be a problem with just the chargers themselves. So if anyone has experience with this, where you know your vehicle can charge, above a certain point when you have good battery temperature, but there is an obvious limit on your charging speed, please put it in the comments. We want to hear this from people. Personally, I have not experienced this with either co-ops or Petro Canada chargers, so I can't really say what happened. So we're gonna be here for maybe another 10 minutes. We're gonna get up to 75–80% battery, and we're gonna move on to the next spot. So where does that leave us? Where are we going to next? And can we still trust the Petro Canada chargers and the co-op chargers, especially since they've given us so much trouble? Well, the next town we're planning to stop in is called Whitewood, which is 170 kilometers from here. It's got a Petro Canada charger, so we got questions about that. And the next town is called Verdun, which has co-op charger, which is also one we had trouble with. So we're gonna go to Whitewood, we're gonna plug it into the Petro Canada charger and see how it reacts. And we will go from there. Well, thank you for sticking with us on this really long journey. We are in Whitewood, and there's some good news. The Petro Canada charging station is delivering 71 kilowatts, which is exactly what we're expecting at this state of charge and at our high battery temperature. So yeah, this is working as expected. I'm not 100% sure what's going on, where the previous Petro Canada charging session only went up to 40 kilowatts, and now this is all working just fine. I mean, it's still the same vehicle. So yeah, I guess we're filming every single charging session on our OBD phone, and what we're gonna do is we'll analyze everything. We'll see if we can identify any patterns, and if we have some interesting findings, we'll make a different video about it. So make sure you're subscribed for that. Now, since we're getting really good charging speed, and we're still not sure if other BTC chargers, so the Petro Canada and the co-op chargers, are going to give us any problems later, let's stick with the high charging speed and charge as much as we can, probably up to 75% or 80% again, and then we'll keep moving to our next stop, which I think would be Brandon. So we'll see you there. Welcome to Brandon. So this is our, I guess, second last planned stop, and I'll tell you why. So when we came here, we arrived with 25% battery. Our battery minimum temperature is 21. So I'm thinking, when we plug in, we might get something like close to 50 kilowatts. But the same thing happened as the previous problem Petro Canada and co-op chargers. We're only getting 40 something. Right now it's only 43. With 43 kilowatts, it's not very fast, which means it might not be worth it to stay here for a long time. So what we're gonna do is we will charge up to about 40% battery, and then we're gonna move on to the next location, which is about 110 kilometers from here. It's a Portage, Prairie. That's a town, and that has a Petro Canada as well. Let's go there after a little bit of charging to see if we can get better charging speed there before we make our way all the way to Winnipeg. So let's hope our charging troubles don't continue, and we'll see you in the next town. Welcome everybody to Portage La Prairie. So this is our last charging stop before going to Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is only about 100 kilometers away, so we don't actually need that much battery. When we first arrived, we came with 9% battery, and the battery minimum is at 22 degrees, battery max is 31. And we were wondering what kind of charging speed we're gonna get. When we first plugged in, it was 40 something, and then pretty quickly went up to 50 something. And then as soon as battery min hit 25 degrees, we got 74 kilowatts. So this is a very normal charging session according to the battery temperature. So the mystery remains why some of the charging stations are not giving us this full charging speed in accordance to the battery temperature. So yeah, that's a mystery. We're gonna have to figure that one out later. Now we're gonna charge to 45% battery. We predict that we're gonna use around 30% battery, so we can arrive with 10 to 15% buffer, which would be good. And yes, this is the last charging stop. We will see you in Winnipeg. All right, finally, we are here in Winnipeg. So this is downtown Winnipeg. We're just in one of the parking lots here at our hotel. We arrived here with 20% battery, which is pretty good, all things considered. Our consumption for the last leg of the journey, which is 100 kilometers, is 5.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour. Our entire trip today was 1,350 kilometers. The consumption for this entire trip is 5.4 kilometers per kilowatt hour. We planned for the consumption to be 5.5, so that's pretty close. What did we learn? Well, there's some weird things going on with the BTC chargers, which include the Co-op and the Petro Canada chargers. When we're trying to charge a Kona with it, there were a couple of charging sessions where the charging speed wasn't ideal. So like I said, we're going to figure out a couple of theories why that could be happening. All right, so thank you for sticking with us throughout this really long trip. This is probably the longest we've ever driven in an EV in a single day. Took us about, I would say, 17 and a half-ish hours in total. And we're going to have some of the important data later on as a title screen at the end. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Solomon, and driving with me today is John, and we'll see you on the next one.